Hello everyone, my name is Michael Gibson. I am the creator of Norm Therapy. I'm also your host on the Norm Therapy Show here on YouTube. I'd like to take the opportunity to talk to you about exactly what is Norm Therapy. Norm Therapy is our revolutionary approach towards helping victims of abuse as well as survivors of abuse cope with the many different types of abuses out there, from narcissistic abuse to child sexual abuse, elderly abuse, you name it, we cover the abuse. We currently work with about 14 different abuses to include educational and psychological abuses. We look for opportunities to help people to find themselves within their own abuses. I know that sounds kind of strange, but that's exactly what occurs. Most often, we must start on the premise when we look at norm therapy from this perspective, that it is impossible to lie to yourself. It is just impossible. Hey everyone, my nose is green and it's got a purple stripe right down the side. Well, that's not a true statement, and you know it isn't. But what happens if I look at you and I say, hey, Bob, or better yet in this case, Barbara, you have a green nose. And she looks at me and she's my girlfriend or she's my wife. Like, what? And then I proceed to just slap her. And she looks at me like I'm crazy and start to cry and feel bad. And I say I'm sorry and I won't do it again. And then tomorrow the same thing happens. I say, hey, Barbara, you have a green nose. Bam, slap her again. And she's like, what? I'm going to my mom's. And no, baby, please stay. La, 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 la. A week later, I do it again. And then I started doing it on a more frequent basis. I started doing it whenever I come in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I just see her and I have to hurt her. And what does she do? She starts to take it and tolerate it. This is a huge problem associated with abuse, the tolerance of abuse. Remember, people will only ever do to you what they think they can get away with. Period. Nothing else. People will not try to hurt you or get over on you if they don't think they can get away with it. That's how abuse starts. At some point, maybe 6 months down the road, a year, a couple years down the road, she may go to the mirror and ask herself, she may say, Barbara, I can start to see a little tinge of green right there on the side of your nose. She'll start to believe the lies. Why? Because that conditioning she's going through to accept those lies as truth makes her life much easier if she just believed them and moved on. Because she's already within the confines and the construct of an abusive circumstance. And it's hard to extricate yourself from that abuse without lying to yourself, or at least finding out the truth to pull yourself out. This is where norm therapy comes in. We look at the chronologies of your pathologies, basically, and we try to make heads of tails of it using proprietary techniques and other expertise during our sessions and during our training. We also have our norm therapy cadre that actually train norm therapists. It's about a 6-month program, and this program is designed to get you certified on a corporate level as a norm therapist and work for normtherapy.com or one of our nonprofits, either Go Arrow at goarrow.org or abuserefuge.org. Either of those organizations, which pretty much goes into the same portal, but they're both dealing with abuse and survivors and victims. So we look at that as an opportunity to share to the world right now that, we're looking for norm therapists, and we have plenty going through our cohorts now. So get in line. It's a pretty decent career field, and if you go on a website and you look it up and you read it, you'll find that we're going places and we're doing some pretty good work. As well, if you are in need of our services, those nonprofits will actually provide those services free of charge up to a certain point. But normally at that point, we're working on grants and other opportunities to, of course, continue providing those services free of charge. So your donations at the nonprofit side is very well welcomed. But at the bottom line, Barbara now thinks she has a green nose. Norm Therapy is going to convince Barbara that she has a nose. Now let's find out together what color it is. That is the approach of Norm Therapy. We extricate you from that circumstances, hopefully both mentally and physically. But that's truly up to the victim or survivor. We have to take into consideration quite a few things. The neuroplasticity, the amygdala, your threat center, and the hippocampus all work together when abuse occurs. Your fear is the number one reason abuse happens to you. That's simple. You fear getting hit. You fear the degradation. You fear the narcissism. You fear the sexual abuse. You fear that, so you allow it to occur. At some times in life, had someone championed you during one of your abuses or attacks, be it your parents or your best friend or your husband or wife, if they had championed you, then chances are you wouldn't have been so susceptible to abuse in the first place. Oftentimes, a victim or survivor will look up and they'll say, how did I get into this circumstance? But most often we hear during our sessions is, no one ever asked me this question. No one's ever called me out on my BS. And you probably wonder what I mean about that. Basically, people have spent 10 or 20 years on a couch, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a therapist of some type or another, a counselor, and they just simply lie. They put on facades, and they go in there and they tell the story they think the doctor want to hear, or the story that they actually believe that pretty much has no merit, because they've conditioned themselves to believe it as such. And they'll start, even to their abusers and attackers, they'll start even supporting them. Oh, it's my fault he hit me. It's, oh yeah, I did something wrong. I didn't do this or that, and that's why I got hurt. And they took all my money and financially abused me because I was, I did something wrong. This happens all the time. People condition themselves to believe that they are at fault for what someone else is doing to them. We try to help the victim and the survivor, because those are two very different class of people. A victim is a person who's experiencing abuse and is in great need of help to discern it and deal with it and try to extricate it from its life. And a survivor is a person who's well on that path to surviving the abuse, but needs additional help and reinforcement over time in order to maintain themselves outside of that abuse and on the mend. That's a different, it's a mindset. One surviving, the other's in it. We'll talk more about that too as episodes continue. But let's look at Barbara now and her husband, who beats her every single day about her green nose. Well, we get plenty of Barbaras in Norm Therapy. We do. And it's tragic. Abuse goes unchecked worldwide. If only 14% of the people in the entire world even have access to good or even middle of the road mental health care, then a lesser population have access to abuse care. Why is that? Why do people have so limited access to mental health and abuse care? One, there are not enough therapists in the world to accommodate the many people who need the service out there. And two, it is not cost effective. It is very expensive across the board to receive that type of service or program to assist you in your mental health. And when it does occur, normally it occurs over a long period of time. So they can become very, very financially burdensome on your life as well as your pocketbook. Norm Therapy, we're looking at it a different way. We want you to be able to afford our service, but we want you to be able to get something out of it. Right now at the nonprofit level, they are very affordable, these services, and we're taking people on a case-by-case basis, but we're also training, and at those same organizations, as well as normtherapy.com, we're actually training norm therapists. We have people coming from the mental health community with PhDs, with masters, with licenses, psychotherapists, you name it, coming in now, and they want to become norm therapists. They see the benefit. I want you to do your research. I want you to go on both websites at normtherapy.com as well as abuserefuge.org and take a look, take an opportunity and look at what we're doing. Read up on it and you'll find that it's fascinating. Now, what do we need to do to get you more oriented toward receiving these benefits? You must first know that at some point, normtherapy.com will become a completely for-profit company, and it will be separated completely from the 501c3s. That's very important that you understand that. We will only be providing free services in the future to people who cannot afford it, who are in great need of it. And we will take those people in on case-by-case basis. The more norm therapists that we have available and trained, the more people will be able to take in. On the normtherapy.com side, it will be a paid service. If you can afford it, we will, of course, accommodate that effort the best we can as we're building our cadre and norm therapists out as well over there. So we'll talk more about that in the future, in future episodes, because we're going to do plenty of these podcasts and we want to get you involved. We want you to understand that we're not just showing up to make a small difference. We want to make a huge difference and put a dent in the abuse care industry. We have painstakingly created our course. It's about 2 months of classwork and another month or just about a month of methods of instructions and probationary period, and then another 90 days on top of it of another probationary period before you're actually certified, where you actually work as a norm therapist or a norm therapy intake specialist, and you will work with real interviewees. Both you'll work with our what we call norm therapy interviewees, as well as our victims and survivors coming in off the street looking for support. You'll always be working with someone in Overwatch, a senior norm therapist, so don't worry about that. We pretty much control the environment so we can make sure that we're providing consistent and high standard of service all the time. Now, take an opportunity and look at yourself. If you're looking for a career path that makes sense, it's new, and if you are an intelligent and pragmatic person with a serious personality, or maybe you're gregarious and you have a fun personality, but the seriousness and pragmatism that you bring to the table is something we're looking for, that you can turn that gregariousness off from time to time so we can get some very sage and consistent advices and protocols established with our victims and survivors. We'll talk more about that too in our recruitment session that we'll have in the future. Many people are abused for so many reasons, and they lie to themselves for so many reasons. They say, yeah, I can accept this. Yeah, that really happened. Yeah, well, it really didn't. They're trying to protect themselves by lying. They're trying to protect someone else by lying. They're trying to do something always, and they'll lie about it to keep the pain away from themselves. We help them not do that anymore. And I think that we're on to something. We've had psychologists who are a part of our organization now look at us and say, wow, this is the missing link. We'll get to that more here shortly in our future episodes, and I'm going to really try to get more people involved. We're going to have celebrities, doctors, victims and survivors, norm therapists, and the like, and the heads of the 501c3s come in and talk about their experience with norm therapy and the way they're providing this service free of charge to people and what that entails. I think you all should get involved. Norm therapy is the next step in ensuring that every segment of our society needs it. We're looking into the education or norm therapy for education. Teachers right now are afraid to go to the classroom. 54% of the teachers in the United States are ready to leave their jobs. And we'll talk about that soon. So I'm Michael Gibson. I'm the creator of Norm Therapy, and I am your host for the Norm Therapy Show. And I look forward to future interviews and podcasts with you. Have a great day. And at Norm Therapy, we always say one truth at a time. We'll get to it. Thank you.